following is a live copyrighted presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time now for RadioLawTalk.com with your host, Frederick Penney, attorney at law. And now, RadioLawTalk.com.
Welcome to Radio Law Talk. I'm your host, Frederick Penney, with Todd Kuhn and Denise Dirks, and our producer, Cal Hunter, 3-time Emmy Award nominee, but never a winner, but will someday win a radio. What the Emmys? Not Emmys TV. Radio is what, Cal?
I don't know, Marconi or something like that.
Yeah,
you know,
so we're going to win one of those sometime, and we have to make sure we put. Don't you have to apply for it or something?
I don't know. I've never looked into it because there's about as much chance as my winning one of those as there was an Emmy.
Okay, well, let's try to. Maybe I'll win it.
Okay,
we'll
yeah, you win it, and that'll be a vicarious win for all of us. For the whole team. Yes.
All right. Remember, this is the most interesting, exciting, and I know it's rare, but sometimes informative radio show on earth. You have to remember the most important part of this, though, is we're not giving legal advice. Seek local counsel. Look, we're talking about general topics of law, and you who listen to Radio Law Talk this past few weeks have had the opportunity to use us as, something around the dinner table to thwart the in-laws that would always say they say. So if you haven't used it yet, you have one more chance, or maybe two, around Christmas time, New Year's Eve, Hanukkah. Isn't Hanukkah? What was that? That's in December?
Yes.
During that time period or whatever time period, you're going to be around the in-laws or family, right?
We have been your citation authority.
Yeah, around the dinner table.
For dinner table, not for court.
Or not for any legal issue, but just for the in-laws. And so we give you permission to do that. Use us. Just say, well, Radio Law Talk says Denise Dirks said as follows, and she's the Radio Law Talk host, and she said this. And look, it's credibility immediately right there. All you have to say is really, look, Radio Law Talk says, and everyone will say, oh, never mind.
But you'll have it made if somebody in a Supreme Court argument says, Your Honors, I heard Mr. Frederick Penney, who is authorized to practice before this court, say on the radio.
That's true.
I mean, it could happen. It could happen.
Yeah. I could see can you see the justices? Yeah, all right.
Ginsburg going, he's what? He was what?
And I'll raise my hand. Remember you met with me in the Supreme Court when I was sworn in?
Exactly.
No.
I don't, Fred.
Today we're going to talk about George Zimmerman.
Yes, I was wearing my gloves.
Yes, she was. She does wear gloves. She wears gloves, and she's I brought this up before. Those of you who haven't listened to us before or didn't remember me saying this, but I met her after I was sworn in a little luncheon thing with only a few attorneys and her, and I swear it's like the Queen of England walking in. It was very similar. That's what I felt. It was like the royalty, whether you agree or disagree with her. It's just she's a little tiny lady, and I'm not talking 95 pounds tiny. I'm talking smaller than that. I mean, and she just has her white gloves, and everything's very proper. And then you got Judge, Roberts walks in. Hey, guy, what's up, man?
In a pair of jeans and a T-shirt. Hey, dudes.
Hey, but he's just like, hey, man, how are you? How are you guys? Right. So it's just completely different personalities, and it was really interesting. So we're going to talk about George Zimmerman suing Trayvon Martin's family for $100 million. And this is the exciting one that we wanted to talk about that I think is interesting. Columbo lawsuit. It's a shocker what the judge does after this huge verdict. We're going to talk about Casey Kasem's children and the widow are going to settle their lawsuit. Now, the reason we decided to bring this one up, and there's so many things we can talk about. Casey Kasem, if those of you listen to the radio, that's the guy that does like the top 20 or top 100.
American top 40.
Yeah, American top 40.
But first, this issue.
Did he obviously passed away.
Yes, he deceased, yeah.
But man, I've heard some of his they replayed toward the end of his life, and he's definitely.
He was very good at what he did. Distinctive voice, did a lot of commercial voiceovers, some TV parts. And he was just an icon.
Yeah, he was struggling to talk, though.
Right.
And then we're going to talk about the NFL TV rights heads to the United States Supreme Court. And by the way, the Casey Kasem thing, backing up on that, I'm just throwing a shout out for Bob Hilton, as a friend of mine. He was on The Price is Right, and
he was on this show.
He was on the show, yeah. But he it's so funny. All these Casey Kasems and the Dick Clarks and all those individuals were all friends of his, and he has some great stories to tell about all these Columbo. That was his era, and he knew all of them.
Keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars.
That's exactly right.
Monty Hall.
Monty Hall was his friend.
Oh, yeah.
So was who's the guy that's Let's Make a Deal?
That was
Bob Barker.
Monty Hall.
Bob Barker.
Bob Barker.
Price is Right.
Price is Right.
Yes.
Price is Right.
Come on down.
All right, so Come On Down was
That's Price is Right.
That is who?
But that's his thing.
That's his thing. That was him, Bob Hilton. So anyway, we're going to talk about those things. But before we do that, we have a very important case or no case that Cal is going to go over with us.
Now it's time to play Case or No Case.
I told you a literal and figurative NBA arena, because in 2008, Gilbert Arenas was signed by the Washington Wizards basketball team for $111 million. Had a serious knee injury the year before, but Washington figured Arenas was the next Kobe Bryant, so they made the deal anyway. That first season, he played 2 games, nagging injuries. In 2009, he got in an argument over gambling debts with a teammate. Weapons were produced in the locker room. He was suspended for a year, and then at the end of all of that, he said, "You know what, Washington Wizards, you owe me $111 million." Wow. The Wizards traded him in 2012, and the rest of his career was a big fizz. The Wizards were on the hook for the contract. They said, no, we have a morals clause, and you violated the morals clause, Mr. Arenas, for pointing a weapon at a teammate. And so I ask you, Mr. Cunin, you get to go first here. Case or no case?
I am going to say, I hesitate to say this because this is how last Case or No Case started out. But yes, everything that you have said up until now is true about Gilbert Arenas and the issue with pointing a weapon. He took it into the locker room, and it was a gambling debt issue that they had hauled. And I just don't recall. You know what? I am going to say that everything is true except there was no issue about payment because he did go on to play and they didn't try to get rid of him under the morals clause.
Well, Washington was on the hook for the contract when he was traded, and they wanted to not pay their share.
Yes.
So that's what I'm basing the premise of this on, just so you know.
Okay, and I'm going to say that I'm going to stick with this. Everything is correct, but this is not a case. The part about not wanting to pay because of the morals clause, that didn't come up.
Okay, fair enough.
That did not come up for the Washington Wizards.
Denise Dirks, what say you? Case or no case?
Well, it sounds like a scenario, obviously. But is it a case? And what I think you're trying to raise is that when you trade somebody and there's a debt owed on that somebody and you're doing a trade, that those two teams have to negotiate that debt and how it's going to be paid.
So-called dead money is what they call it. Right. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to say that it is I'm going to say that it's a case and that the Washington Wizards don't have to pay their part. The new team that takes them on does.
Okay, fair enough. Mr. Penney, what say you?
We only have about a minute left, so I'm going to get through it in a minute.
Okay.
There's a little bit of strategery going on here because I have to figure out how to. But I think I'm going to go with. It's definitely a scenario. I remember this situation, but is it a case? I'm going to say with that much money, it has to be a case. So I'm with Denise. Yes, it's a case. I'm going to say that the NBA team wins because Gilbert did point a gun, and that's against the morals clause. Believe me, the lawyers write those up really well and make sure there's ways for them to get out of their contract. So call us at 855-LAW-RADIO if you want to call in, or the phone number is
855-529-7234, or you can tweet us at Radio Law Talk.
We'll be back with Case or No Case.
Have the answer for you coming up right here on Radio Law Talk. Don't go away.
All advertising for legal services on Radio Law Talk is strictly for the state or states in which the advertiser is licensed. For more information, go to radiolawtalk.com.
I am Cameron Levitt, Chief Operating Officer of Concussion Medical Clinic. California's first concussion medical clinic is now open. As concussions increase each year, there has never been a greater need for concussion specialists. Our physicians at Concussion Medical Clinic are board certified in pediatric neurology and sports medicine and have partnered with universities, hospitals, and rehab clinics to expedite the recovery process. Simply put, we are elevating the standard of care. When you need an expert concussion opinion or concussion care, visit concussionmedicalclinic.com to schedule your appointment.
Jason Rosbach here with Fred Penney, managing attorney from Penney & Associates Injury Lawyers. Now, Fred, what type of cases are you dealing with now, and what sets you apart?
Jason, we help people with all types of personal injury cases. We're former insurance company trial lawyers. We understand the other side, which gives us a distinct advantage over our competition. Remember, we don't get paid unless we win.
That's Penney & Associates Injury Lawyers with locations throughout California. For a free consultation, go to pennylawyers.com or give them a call, 1-800-616-4LAW. That's PENNEY lawyers.com.
This is Denise Dirks. We can represent clients in divorce, legal separation, child and spousal support, custody, termination of parental rights, step-parent adoptions, guardianships, and even conservatorship matters. Call 1-877-886-7186 for a consultation.
The law offices of Denise L. Dirks provide family law services in Northern California. When the law affects your family, call 877-886-7186. The family of attorneys at Denise L. Dirks is here to help.
Hi, I'm Frederick Penney of Penney & Associates Injury Lawyers. I bet you're tired of hearing lawyer commercials, so just relax and listen to music for a few seconds. When you or a family member has been injured, call 800-616-4LAW or see us at PenneyandAssociates.com. See, that wasn't so bad.
I'm going to Quick Quack Car Wash. Get my car washed, make it quick, quack, pretty, dime sexy, just because I want to. Don't drive dirty. Going to get my car suds at the Quick Quack Car Wash. It's the Quick Quack, quickest and the cleanest by far. We're talking 3 skinny minutes sitting right in your car wash. 100 feet of cloth, washing your car at the Quick Quack Car Wash. Any Honda, Mazda, Ford, or Chevy, Sauber, Cadillac, Quick Quack will spruce her up just like that. You'll be happy looking snappy. You'll be glad you was at the Quick Quack Car Wash. Get on the web and go to don'tdrivedirty.com and see where you got your closest Quick Quack in the local area. Get in your car, get in your truck, get on the road and come visit the duck at the
Quick Quack Car Wash, where your car will always leave happy, guaranteed. They take pride in being clean and green by conserving and recycling the water they use, only at the
Quick Quack Car Wash. Quick Quack.
I knew I had a problem, but I didn't know what to do about it.
I tried counting calories, I took pills, eating, and then more eating.
I really wanted to stop, but nothing could make me stop.
At one point, it was so bad that I just felt like giving up.
I felt so alone.
Like nobody else could possibly understand.
We understand. We're Overeaters Anonymous, and we have helped thousands of people just like you. People who want to stop their compulsive eating and start living a healthy, rewarding life.
Overeaters Anonymous. Help me get my life back.
Now I eat in a way that's healthy and good for me.
I never realized what I was missing out on.
With OA, I am living again and loving it.
Start living the life you deserve with help from Overeaters Anonymous. Find us on the web at oa.org.
I like the Amargosa Valley.
You're listening to RadioLawTalk.com. And now back to your host, Frederick Penney.
Yeah, the Amargosa Valley, for those of you who don't know, is in Nevada. It's a small little town, and it has a casino and I'm going to say
it's a combination.
Yes, casino and what's the nice way to say it?
Cat house?
cat house,
a house of ill repute,
or a
shall we
mother,
say,
no,
yes.
or let's say an interesting place.
Where when they answer the phone on the answering machine, they say, "Where your chances of winning are good, and the girls are out of this world."
That's true.
What they say.
That's
their
what they
answering
say.
machine.
That's exactly right.
Right by Area 51. Yeah.
That's true. And Bill is our fan over there that listens to us. But that was one of our first radio
call-ins
and our first radio station
group, right?
that picked us up is out of that little town. And that's why those of you who keep hearing that, it'll always come up, the Amargosa Valley. And they're actually really what the Amargosa Valley is known for is its alfalfa fields. Apparently a lot of alfalfa and a lot of big hay fields. It's a big farming community. So there you go. That's what's going on there. We're going to get them recognized worldwide. So in the NBA, Gilbert Arenas was making $111 million. He basically, with the Washington Wizards, the issue was they had a gambling debt, and he brings a gun into the locker room and points it apparently, or whatever, brandishes it some way against a teammate.
Jarvis Crittenton.
Yep. They argue. The Wizards say we don't owe you the money because there's a moral clause, and therefore we're trading you, and we don't have to pay you the $111 million. Denise said it's a case, and who wins?
I said it's a case, and that the new team paid the $100 million.
Paid the $100 million. I say nobody had to pay him the $100 million. At least the Wizards didn't have to pay him the $100 million, is what I said. And it is a case. Todd said it's a scenario, but not a case.
That's right.
Well, it's interesting, because in the NBA, so many interesting things can happen. But the one thing that happens, and you guys all know this, in the NBA, everybody gets paid. So here's I'm just.
Is it a real case or not?
I'm going to tell you the whole deal right here. If you give me a second, because it's really important that we know this. So what happens is Gilbert Arenas and this guy, they get into some hissy fit. Each of them pulls out a gun. Nobody could say who started this. But the other guy couldn't stay out of trouble. Jarvis Crittenton ended up serving 25 to life for manslaughter. Did you know that?
Wow,
no.
But Arenas ended up having a rather unglorious rest of his career and got his $111 million without any charge, without any contest
from
on the part of the Washington Wizards. They had to pay the full 111.
Denise nailed it. No, that's right. No, you didn't.
I said
no, it was a case, right?
It was a case.
Nope.
No case.
Oh, no case was
Didn't
brought.
even file an appeal. Washington said, we traded him. We know it's dead money. We know it's a stupid franchise move.
Todd.
And guess what?
Wow.
$111 million for being a jerk with a gun.
And so Todd's the only one that gets points, Todd.
Yes,
You're
good
ahead.
points.
That's right. Todd gets a couple points.
He's halfway there.
That's exciting.
Nice.
Well, halfway there, we have to go to 50 points. Todd's at 25. The winner, like if Todd won this whole game, he has to tell Denise and I what, we have to take him to dinner or do somewhere, right?
Yeah, but no Epstein requests, please.
Did that come from Denise?
I'm shocked that you would think I would make such a request.
Me too.
Well, you come in here in your house coat.
By the way, asking her to meet you in the studio next hour.
Next hour what,
Next hour,
Cal?
I'm going to take you to the world of foot fashion. That's right.
Foot fashion.
Next
Okay.
hour on Radio
Foot
Loud.
fetish.
I'd be good at that.
What was the
didn't say
movie,
that.
the guy that had the foot fetish? Hold on.
I don't know, thank goodness.
I'll think of it. We're gonna talk about George Zimmerman. Tell us about who wants to give us. I can go through back into, was it 2008 or 2012?
2012.
2012 was that fatal shooting of George Zimmerman shoots Trayvon Martin.
That's right.
This is where a lot of the Black Lives Matter kind of started in this. And now George Zimmerman is Hispanic.
Yes.
And Trayvon Martin was African American. And the basic thing is George Zimmerman is a security guard for a gated community that was it a retirement type community?
No, it was just I think it was just a gated,
Just a regular community that had their
community.
gated regular community.
What happened?
This is what brought the whole stand your ground law to the forefront. And in Florida, the stand your ground law, like everywhere else, is that if you are the victim of an assault, somebody comes at you, you don't have to run away. You don't have to try to leave, sometimes people in some states you can have liability if, even though you're attacked, if there is a safe harbor type situation where there's a break in the attack, you have to immediately disengage and leave, and stand your ground laws essentially say, no, you don't. And Trayvon Martin...
That you can defend yourself. And so George Zimmerman saw Trayvon Martin, followed him for a little bit because he thought he was suspicious. This was he was wearing a hoodie.
It was raining. And
and that was where the whole, really, you had reasonable suspicion, or you followed him because he had a hoodie on. And nothing occurred at that point, according to Zimmerman. What occurred was that according to Zimmerman, that Martin actually came and assaulted George Zimmerman because Martin didn't like the fact that Zimmerman was following him around. And there was a confrontation. As alleged by Zimmerman, at one point in time, Martin had Zimmerman on the ground, and Zimmerman was on his back. Martin was over the top of him, and Martin said that Zimmerman said that Trayvon Martin went for his gun, so he pulled his gun out and shot Trayvon Martin in the chest. Trayvon Martin died. The case was investigated and dismissed, and no charges filed initially under a self-defense claim. And then a week and a half, 2 weeks later, there were new witnesses, and it led to a prosecution. When we come back, we'll pick up on that, about what Zimmerman is saying happened as a result of that, and why he believes he's entitled to $100 million.
Yeah, this is 2012. It's now just coming out because of actually some evidence that they're finding now, according to Zimmerman, his attorney, that needs to be brought out, that shows that he was basically, I'm not going to say. We'll be back.
All right, there's much more Radio Law Talk coming up. Remember, we're live Saturdays, 9 to noon Pacific, and we stream the whole 3 hours live at that time. You're welcome to join us.
All advertising for legal services on Radio Law Talk is strictly for the state or states in which the advertiser is licensed. For more information, go to radiolawtalk.com.
Jason Ross back here with Fred Penney, managing attorney from Penney & Associates Injury Lawyers. Now, Fred, what type of cases are you dealing with now, and what sets you apart?
Jason, we help people with all types of personal injury cases. We're former insurance company trial lawyers. We understand the other side, which gives us a distinct advantage over our competition. Remember, we don't get paid unless we win.
That's Penney & Associates Injury Lawyers with locations throughout California. For a free consultation, go to pennylawyers.com or give them a call, 1-800-616-4LAW. That's PENNEY lawyers.com.
This is Denise Dirks. We can represent clients in divorce, legal separation, child and spousal support, custody, termination of parental rights, step-parent adoptions, guardianships, and even conservatorship matters. Call 1-877-886-7186 for a consultation.
The law offices of Denise L. Dirks provide family law services in Northern California. When the law affects your family, call 877-886-7186. The family of attorneys at Denise L. Dirks is here to help.
Hi, I'm Frederick Penney of Penney & Associates Injury Lawyers. I bet you're tired of hearing lawyer commercials, so just relax and listen to music for a few seconds. When you or a family member has been injured, call 800-616-4LAW or see us at PenneyandAssociates.com. See, that wasn't so bad.
The cost of getting rid of garbage is high, and recycling products is lucrative. If you're a business or know of a business that needs an individual compactor or baler, call Northwest Compacting at 888-201-0911. If you already have an industrial compactor, baler, or shredder and need service, don't forget to call Northwest Compacting at 888-201-0911. Northwest Compacting, your full-service industrial compacting and baling company. Read more about them at northwestcompacting.com.
Many women
and the Ad Council.
Radio
All advertising for legal services on Radio Law Talk is strictly for the state and every state in which the advertiser is licensed.
No, I don't know what happened. But boom, it all just played at once. Back to the show. Here's Fred, Todd, and Denise.
That must be what it's like for the Almighty to hear everybody petitioning. There's all these stuff going on.
That was prayer time. Like
yes.
Right.
You just seen Cal when that was going on. He's just like quietly looking at the board and going,
Well, what can I do?
What can I do? There we go. He did it to confuse us and throw us off. George Zimmerman, you were talking still about George Zimmerman.
Yeah, so the long and short of the George Zimmerman case here is that he was ultimately acquitted. He was charged criminally, and he was acquitted at trial. That raised a lot of. I remember there was a lot of concern over this. There was a lot of fear that
people went to the streets, actually.
And there was a lot of fear that the response was going to be similar to that of Rodney King back in the 90s. But he was acquitted, and George Zimmerman is an interesting character. He's had various things happen to him over the years. Certainly his life was turned upside down by all of this. But he has now filed a lawsuit claiming, and he's included Trayvon Martin's mother, he's included some news publications, he's included the lawyers, he's included, I believe, prosecutors, witnesses, because his argument here is, look, the police investigated this and said that this was a case of self-defense. And then a week and a half, 2 weeks later, 2 new witnesses came forward with critical information. Where were they when the police were doing their investigation? And he is alleging that they were coached, that the witnesses' information was fabricated, that it was fraudulent, and that that's what caused him to go through everything that he had to go through. News outlets then took it and ran with it, knowing that it was false information. So he's throwing the whole kit and caboodle. He's hired an attorney that handles this sort of type of lawsuit. So it's not like he's hired an attorney that doesn't have experience in this realm. And I view this as, let's throw stuff against the wall and see.
And it's $100 million in a civil lawsuit. So it's not a criminal matter that's pending.
But here's some interesting things. The allegations are they switched witnesses. Not only that, but there is an actual. There's evidence in a book, in a documentary film that's called the Trayvon Hoax, Unmasking the Witnesses' Fraud That Divided America. And that is just coming out, and there's evidence in there. They're claiming, again, this is allegations that show there was a fraud was perpetrated on the court by the Trayvon Martin family and by, their attorneys and,
Yeah, their attorneys are being sued.
Yeah, they're suing everybody for $100 million, claiming that his life has been ruined because of this. And boy, what a...
But correct me if I'm wrong. Right after he does this with Trayvon Martin, doesn't he do something else that he actually serves some time for?
Yeah, he got in a fight or something to that effect, I believe.
Yeah, it was something. It was like he got into trouble. Anyway, I think it's either going to be really, really good or really, really bad for him. It's not going to be in the middle. He better settle it, is what I figure. Because
I think that this is a no-win situation from anyone. Let's face it. I remember this was going on. I said it's a no-win. No-win for the Trayvon Martin's family. It's a no-win for Zimmerman. It's just a no-win for America, to be honest with you. Everyone think, oh yeah, it is a win because it started the Black Lives Matter. This is where it started, but I'm saying it's still a no-win situation because it was just a bad situation on both sides. And even if you're on Trayvon Martin's side, it's still Zimmerman's life has been thrown in the mix and vice versa. So interesting to see why this is all coming to a head again and starting all over. But it's going to be interesting.
I don't understand why you would sue the Trayvon Martin's family members when he knows that they're not going to be able to pay $100 million.
No, but they're part of it, and that you have to, in a lawsuit. I mean, the allegations is they were part of this hoax, is what he's claiming, and so you have to throw everybody in. You can't leave an empty seat.
Plus, didn't they get some money, like a settlement thing, or something? Didn't they get some money out of the deal somehow?
I don't remember.
They did not. He was acquitted.
No, but I mean in a civil action.
Trayvon Martin did they?
Okay.
I don't remember. They may have. I don't know. Did they sue? I would think Trayvon Martin's family could sue the association. because he acted on behalf of the
No, he
association.
wasn't. He was
Zimmerman.
actually a neighborhood watch volunteer.
Oh, that's right. But you could still say he's part of the association. But go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, you kind of said it with your last thing there. There's always the empty chair. And so if you don't include people, everybody's going to blame the empty chair. In criminal prosecutions, if you have like a co-defendant case, 2-3 different people charged the same thing, the prosecution is never going to resolve it with one person and then go against the other person unless there's some deal for testifying against them. Because if it's a theft case and you got 2 people and I dismiss against one, then party B, party 2 that I prosecute is going to say, no, it was party 1, the guy that you dismissed against. They're always going to point to the empty chair. We were talking about other legal trouble of George Zimmerman. Before the Trayvon Martin case, back in 2005, there was an allegation, there was a restraining order that had been filed against him by his significant other at the time on allegations of domestic violence.
With Trayvon Martin?
No, with George Zimmerman.
Okay, got it.
So he had that filed against
That's
him.
not unusual, Todd, in a divorce case.
Yes, but the interesting thing, though, is typically with restraining order cases and restraining orders, there is a firearms prohibition. I don't know how long the restraining order went or what Florida's law is with regard to prohibition on firearms even after the restraining order has been taken off.
That's standardized now.
But so there was that in 2005. Zimmerman's wife pled guilty to perjury charges in 2013 for statements that she made in connection with the criminal investigation. And then Zimmerman did run into some trouble in 2015. He was arrested by Lake Mary police, charged with aggravated assault with a weapon.
See, that's what I thought.
After it was alleged he threw a wine bottle at his ex-girlfriend. He was released on bond. Charges were not filed. In 2016, Zimmerman called the sheriff's department to report that he had been punched in the face, so he's back to being a victim again. And again, in later 2016, he was removed from a bar for yelling at a waitress. So anger issues surround him as both a alleged victim and defendant, suspect.
And he's always plays the victim.
He does.
That's what it feels like to me anyway.
You know what? We're going to move on because who knows what's going to happen there.
He also sued another party. That's an interesting part. I just want to say this. Sure. He's accusing the publisher of HarperCollins, defaming him in Crump's book, Open Season, Legalized Genocide of Color People. And basically he's mentioned in that book that he used actual malice, knowing the untruth, or at a minimum, a reckless disregard for the truth when he attacked Trayvon Martin. And when he shot him.
No, talk about Zimmerman, when they talked about Zimmerman. Right.
Yes, but when Zimmerman attacked. Right. So they were saying that Zimmerman really created the whole situation.
Probably a dumb question. Is he becoming a professional court guy, professional plaintiff?
Not really. No, this is only a few. No.
This is just one suit of none.
I
think this is the first time he's.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the first suit that I know he's filed. But he filed it against Trayvon Martin's mother, and she's running for public office.
Yes, commissioner in Florida.
And by the way, you had mentioned Crump, who was quoted in that article. Crump was the attorney for Trayvon Martin's mother, correct?
Yes.
Yes, for the family. For the whole family.
And so those are the allegations he made.
So we'll definitely be following that as time goes on, but we want to talk about a judge tossing out a $70 million verdict against Universal Studios in the Columbo case. Cal, tell us about Columbo. We can talk about it. You followed Columbo.
Columbo was played by Peter Falk as part of his NBC Sunday night movie thing. They had 3 rotating shows, and Peter Falk was huge, made a lot of money, and he was on every 3 weeks, I believe, for several years. And then after that, they started making only the movie-length versions. Right. It always had some famous star of the day that ended up being the guilty party that Columbo would trick by his bumbling. He was like a Clouseau with an English sports car and a trench coat and a droopy dog.
That's exactly right. He always had and my father loved this show. My dad was a former cop. He's an undercover police officer. And I'm telling you, he never missed Columbo. And when it came on, he'd be the guy that would shuffle. He shuffles in and acts kind of dumb. And he's got the trench coat, and he's kind of But anyway, the family's fighting over profits from his show, and they win a verdict. And the most interesting thing happens where the judge tosses out the verdict. And this is the judge that actually heard the case and was deciding on a lot of the merits on the case and decides, whoopsie, I think I might have taken a misstep.
Right. Hey, call us at 855-LAW-RADIO. That's 855-529-7234. Or tweet us at Radio Law Talk.
So stay with us.
More Radio Law Talk is coming right up right here, so you stay there. We'll be back, promise.
All advertising for legal services on Radio Law Talk is strictly for the state or states in which the advertiser is licensed. For more information, go to radiolawtalk.com.
Hi, my name is Lily. My mom and dad used to fight about money all the time. Then one day, I heard them talking about this guy, some uncle I never knew, called Uncle Sam. Well, they say this Uncle Sam guy wanted them to pay him like $1 gazillion, and they didn't have $1 gazillion. So they called this company they heard on the radio called the Tax Doctor. And the Tax Doctor worked with Uncle Sam's people. I think they're called the IRS. And they were able to work it out so my mom and dad didn't have to pay Uncle Sam very much money at all. So now mom and dad are happy, and I'm happy too. Thanks, Tax Doctor.
If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS or state, call now and pay less.
800-263-2610. 800-263-2610. That's 800-263-2610.
Not all law firms have extensive experience in all areas of the law. It's wise to look for firms that have knowledge and understanding in your particular area of concern. So go to prolawfirms.com. They have listings of attorneys in key areas of practice, such as family law, estate planning, personal injury, bankruptcy, and so forth. When you're looking for a lawyer that has extensive experience in your particular area of need, go to prolawfirms.com. That's prolawfirms.com.
ProLawFirms.com is not a law firm and does not endorse or recommend any specific law firm.
Jason Rosbach here with Fred Penney, managing attorney from Penney & Associates Injury Lawyers. Now, Fred, what type of cases are you dealing with now, and what sets you apart?
Jason, we help people with all types of personal injury cases. We're former insurance company trial lawyers. We understand the other side, which gives us a distinct advantage over our competition. Remember, we don't get paid unless we win.
That's Penney & Associates Injury Lawyers with locations throughout California. For a free consultation, go to pennylawyers.com or give them a call, 1-800-616-4LAW. That's PENNEY lawyers.com.
This is Denise Sturks. We can represent clients in divorce, legal separation, child and spousal support, custody, termination of parental rights, step-parent adoptions, guardianships, and even conservatorship matters. Call 1-877-886-7186 for a consultation.
The law offices of Denise L. Dirks provide family law services in Northern California. When the law affects your family, call 877-886-7186. The family of attorneys at Denise L. Dirks is here to help.
Hi, I'm Frederick Penney of Penney & Associates Injury Lawyers. I bet you're tired of hearing lawyer commercials. So just relax and listen to music for a few seconds. When you or a family member has been injured, call 800-616-4LAW or see us at PenneyandAssociates.com. See, that wasn't so bad.
I'm going to Quick Quack Car Wash. Get my car washed, make it quick, quack, pretty, shiny, sexy, just because I want to. Don't drive dirty. Gonna get my car suds at the Quick Quack Car Wash. It's the Quick Quack, quickest and the cleanest by far. We're talking 3 skinny minutes sitting right in your car wash. 100 feet of cloth, washing your car at the Quick Quack Car Wash. Any Honda, Mazda, Ford, or Chevy, Sauber, Cadillac, Quick Quack will spruce her up just like that. You'll be happy looking snappy. You'll be glad you was after Quick Quack Car Wash. Get on the web and go to don'tdrivedirty.com and see where you got your closest Quick Quack in the local area. Get in your car, get in your truck, get on the road, come visit the duck at the
Quick Quack Car Wash, where your car will always leave happy, guaranteed. They take pride in being clean and green by conserving and recycling the water they use, only at the
Quick Quack Car Wash. Quick Quack.
points for you.
You're listening to RadioLawTalk.com. And now back to your host, Frederick Penney.
So the judge in the Columbo case, the verdict comes down with $70 million verdict against Universal from William Link and the heirs of Richard Levinson. Basically, the issue comes down to what's called a photo plays. Now, the jury, what the jury was supposed to hear, well, let's back up. There's a thing called bifurcation in a case. What they do is they separate parts of the case. So there's one part of the case, and once you decide it, then the second part of the case they'll argue. For example, they'll argue liability, right?
Yes.
Who's at fault? What's the status? Yes, they're at fault. The second part of the case, or the bifurcated part of the case, is, okay, now we argue about damages or what is to be paid. So this case was bifurcated, and in one of the
and it's an interesting bifurcation because the one part of it was actually going to be decided by the judge. What was the legal meaning in the contract of photo plays? And then the other part of it was going to be decided by the jury. And that would be the damages portion. So what happens is that the judge does a bifurcation, but he doesn't decide the meaning of photo plays until after the jury has already been instructed on the damages, and they did not get proper instruction on that key contract term, photo plays. Because in this particular case, the parties' agreement said the studio can deduct standard fees for distribution of photo plays. And if they didn't know what photo plays was, then what would be the standard fees?
Right.
And so that's why they shouldn't have gotten to the damage portion before they had the legal meaning of the term photo plays.
Yeah, because the argument is that had the jury been instructed on proper meaning of photo play, this is the judge talking now. Had the jury been instructed on proper means of photo plays, it would have had no choice but to conclude that Universal does have the right to deduct its distribution fees. That's exactly what it says.
Yes,
so.
and the judge, that was in the motion that Universal brought, and the judge did say, oops, I did it. I agree with you guys.
Yeah.
I am setting aside the judgment, and I'm starting a new trial.
Yeah, so here's a judge stepping up and saying, yeah, I messed up. You know, and that's good for this judge. You know, sometimes they don't do that, and they're like, what is it? So, but you know, $70 million. It's not like $100,000 or $50,000. This is a $70 million verdict. Just picture the family just afterwards going to dinner and high-fiving, and the next thing the judge goes, "Whoops, I forgot to do this," and so that's what's going on.
So it's a new trial. It doesn't mean that there's a winner or loser yet.
They're starting all over.
So let me ask you, Fred, in a case like this, in a personal injury case, or Denise, in what you do, if you prevail in front of the jury, but you as the attorney know, well, there's still the appeals. Everybody's going to challenge. What, if any, cautions do you give to your clients to, okay, let's not pop the champagne yet, let's not do this, just so that they don't run into that big letdown? What if any, how do you handle that?
Well, we do simply. I always tell them, don't spend the money until you have it in your hand. That's the key. You worry about people. Oh, it looks like we won, and they go out and buy their new Camaro. Believe it or not, did you know statistically at one time, I don't know if it's as of 2019, the number one purchased car by plaintiffs once they receive their verdict is a Camaro.
Really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Because in my case with criminal clients, they can go party because double jeopardy. They can't come back if we win at trial.
Right.
They can't come back and try them again in a felony case. What about family law, Denise?
Well, family law, you have major issues that can be appealed as well. But I would say that once an appeal is filed, it does help to resolve the underlying issue, unless it's a pure legal issue. If it's about money, it's easier to resolve it once an appeal is filed than it is if it's about a legality. So I would say you got 90 days to appeal or 60 days to appeal, and you better get an appellate attorney.
Yeah.
I'm not doing the appeal.
Yeah, and I guess just for if your side prevails, you'd want to give the advice, look, don't buy the Camaro yet. Don't do this yet, because there is an appeals period that the other side has to get through, and it's not over till it's over. Because I would imagine that would be a very uncomfortable conversation to have with your client if you said nothing to them, and they've done all this stuff, and then 3 weeks later, oh, by the way, the judge tossed the verdict. The judge overturned this city, and so we got to go back and do it all over again. That'd be a hard one to deal with.
That's hard, but I think it's going to force a settlement.
Yeah.
I just think they're going to have a settlement here. That's my feeling on it, because the cost of having another trial, they may just be having a trial, though, on damages.
Could be.
Right? It probably is just on damages, because I think that they got the definition, and they understand now that term in the contract. That's a legal definition, and now they redo another jury, and they give them the definition, and then they give them up to the damages portion. But they have to retry the damages part for sure.
Of course, the defense attorneys, the studios are going to say, no, we got to go back and do the whole thing over again. That's what they're going to be arguing, that this instruction so tainted the jury's deliberation on everything that you can't go in and draw the line at where it did affect or didn't affect. The only way we can be certain that justice is served is to go back and do it all over again.
Well, that sounds logical. I mean, you have to. You got to be careful. Let's talk about a little bit about that. That's interesting. We're going to follow that. This is
with
another
the new
one.
jury. Is that what?
The
Sorry.
new jury.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the new jury. We're going to follow this one. Now, Casey Kasem. Those of you who don't know who Casey Kasem is, he is America's Top 40. He's the famous guy that on the weekend when you're driving and you get to hear the top 40 for the week, he's the announcer, he's the guy, he's the voiceover guy.
He was the guy that started it, right, Cal?
He's almost like the Dick Clark of radio.
Right, one of the first syndicated radio shows ever, and one of my first radio stations where they would send us the program on records every week, so we could play the master record of Casey Kasem in the American Top 40.
Wow. That's so fun.
And just think if you kept
cool.
one of those original records, that would probably be worth some money. Well, anyway, there has been a long-standing dispute between the following. His first wife, they had the children. Now, there's a number of children they had with the children. Was it three or four? There's 3 children. And then he gets remarried to Jean Kasem. And by the way, it's not like he just remarried him. Sometimes there's little arguments back and forth when they just remarry when they're 70. Yeah, but the new wife when they're 70 or 79. No, he had been married to Jean, the second wife, for 34 years before they had passed. It's not like this is a new wife this is a long time wife they had that they're arguing over multiple things, including money, including whether or not she took care of him. Casey Kasem's children are arguing that Jean did not take care of him. There was elder abuse that occurred, and by the way, elder abuse is not unusual in this country when people get older and they have money. And a lot of times stuff disappears.
Well, even if they don't have money.
Yeah, stuff disappears and money disappears.
And perhaps one of the a misnomer when it comes to the term elder abuse is the term abuse, because people hear the word abuse and they think physical abuse. Well, elder abuse covers theft and most of the time bilking people of their fortune, as their finances.
But in this case, it was alleged that there was neglect and physical abuse by the second wife. So this is, neglect and physical abuse, I think, is not necessarily financial.
Yeah, and they also argued that the second wife was restricting their access to him before he died, and they're arguing she wouldn't let him come see him or hardly see him.
Yeah, we actually dealt with this issue before,
yes, we did.
Because it was at that time that the children actually filed to try to get to see their father. And I remember this.
That is a telltale sign of an abusive relationship, whether it's domestic violence or otherwise, is the isolation of the victim by the perpetrator, so that they think that their whole world is the perpetrator. Right. And that's a key element to any type of abuse.
Yeah,
and apparently it's going on here.
Jean Kasem argues, look, that the children are at this for what? They're motivated for their desire to get more money. And that's because she said, according to Jean, he had cut them off financially in 2012.
Right. Wow. That cut off his kids.
Cut off the kids, and their financial payments to them somehow. So this has been going on for quite some time, but they settled. And by the way, Carrie Kasem, one of the daughters, who filed the initial lawsuit, released a statement saying, "I'm distraught and heartbroken over my family and lawyer's decision to force me into the settlement." So anyway, settled. We don't have to talk about Casey Kasem and his life anymore. We'll be back. We'll talk about other things. Hour number 3.
This is Radio Law Talk. This show will continue in just a little bit. Stay right there.
You have been listening to RadioLawTalk.com, a copyrighted presentation of Radio Law Talk Incorporated.
Insurance, from low-cost term to business or estate coverage, or perhaps a small policy to cover your final expenses. Why spend more than you have to? Hi, I'm John David Wells from the Wells Report. Since 1986, AccuQuote has helped hundreds of thousands of folks save a fortune on their life insurance by quickly comparing the rates, features, and financial strength of dozens of top-rated life insurance products right over the phone. Want some examples? A healthy 50-year-old non-smoker can buy a $500,000 10-year level term policy for less than $45 a month. Oh, you say you're 60? No problem. Under $120 a month. 20 or 30-year terms, even permanent plans are available. Okay, so you might have some health problems, huh? Lots of us do, but the experts at AccuQuote will still work with you to find the best affordable policy. To find out how much you can save, call AccuQuote today, 877-439-8830. That's 877-439-8830, 877-439-8830. AccuQuote. Call them today.
Rates, policy forms, and availability vary by state.